Hi everyone, it's Kelly here from spiritualawakeningsigns.com. Thanks for joining us today. If you don't know me and you haven't really seen what I do before, I help people who are moving through the spiritual awakening pathway to do so a little bit more easily, and I give you some tools and things that you can use to be able to do that. And that's exactly what we're going to be talking about today. So, shadow self is the place that we do not want to go. We just don't want to go there. So it might be your entire life, might be lifetimes, a longer time. We just won't go there. It's that part of us that we consider to be dark. It's all of the negatives that we would rather that we didn't have, and all the experiences that we've chosen to bury deep in the subconscious. It's the dark voice inside of us that whispers that you're bad, that you're not good enough, and that no one would ever really love you if they knew the truth. And it's all the parts of us that are hiding and that we would never illuminate to ourselves or anyone else. So anything that you wouldn't want to tell anyone, wouldn't want anyone to know, it's essentially the brokenness of your mind. It's the damage of the psyche. So your shadow self is the dark side of yourself that you would rather not acknowledge. But the thing is that we all have a certain level of darkness inside of us. We all have that shadow in some form or another, whether we want to illuminate it, to admit it, to accept it or not. And that can be quite hard for light workers to accept, especially when we are so sensitive to such a harsh exterior world. And we find the world so cruel that the pain is too hard to bear. And we insulate ourselves naturally. We curl in and we cut ourselves off and we move in until there's nowhere else to hide. And we cut ourselves off from this darkness. We keep the darkness out there, and we project it out there in order to protect ourselves. Because when we're so painfully sensitive, if we don't project that onto the outside world, there's actually no safe place to hide. And that's an unbearable thought for a sensitive person. Being within your own self wouldn't be safe. You wouldn't be able to survive here without some tiny space that is your safe place to go. You need something to shelter you. So that's where the shadow self starts to develop. So, the broken psyche. So, it's the creator of your shadow self, the broken psyche. By that I mean mentally feeling broken down, trauma, things that have scarred you in your life. And let's face it, on the awakening pathway, we've all felt, I was going to say a little, but a lot crazy. We've all felt crazy. I've felt crazy many times. And not many of us actually make it through without feeling that your mind has been broken, or at least bent to a level that you can't really come back from. But in truth, the brokenness of our minds actually occurred a really long time ago. So it comes up now as part of awakening, but it's an old issue. And it's the past brokenness in the mind that caused you to develop these unconscious shadow aspects in the first place. Awakening just brings it all to the surface so that you can see it. And it's born of necessity, it's survival, it's a protection mechanism. It's like a split part of us that kind of breaks off and encapsulates all that trauma and all the stuff that we can't deal with. And all the stuff that we don't want to see, feel or experience. It literally shelters us from the truth in an attempt to keep us alive, because it's the fear that if we actually knew the truth, we wouldn't be able to handle it, because we are really sensitive beings. So would we actually be able to handle it if we knew the truth? And in many ways it is a good thing, because for sensitive souls like us who are already buckling under the pressure of the normal living world, to take much more probably would threaten our survival. Maybe we wouldn't make it if we knew everything. So instead our subconscious uses these various coping mechanisms to ensure our safety and protection from the issues in many different ways. So I'm going to go over some of the different ways that our subconscious does that. So damage of the mind creates these following things. See if you can recognise any of them within yourself. Hi Linda. And hi, is it Leaky? I'm not sure how to say that. Likey? Thanks for joining us and thanks for the love. So damage of the mind creates, first of all, blind spots. So pain that is so great that the subconscious actually blocks out entirely. Realities of life that we can't see, We can't acknowledge, we can't notice or understand, even when it's right in front of us. That comes up in a big way. Blind spots. Denial. So our mind simply won't allow us to accept what's put before us. So it starts to create patterns of rationalising, of defending, arguing, justifying and fighting. That's absolutely normal. These are all just aspects of this damage coming up. Perception alteration. So our perception actually changes. Our psyche won't allow us to view issues or experiences in the truth of what they are, because we can't actually handle what it means about ourselves or the world or the people around us. Okay, so it completely changes our perception, and we don't even know that it's changed our perception. You're completely unaware of it. Regressed behaviour is another coping mechanism. So due to whenever it was these aspects of self split off, you know, in an attempt to protect you when they disconnected, we might have parts of us that actually reflect younger, teenage or childlike parts of ourselves. And when they're challenged, they will literally act out in childish ways, maybe without your conscious control. It's just such an ingrained pattern. You might cry, you might throw a temper tantrum, you might lash out, you might run away, you might suddenly feel that you need your mum or your dad. That's a real childlike thing. And it all starts to come up. So that regressed behaviour, behaving in ways that you can't explain and you're not consciously aware of, and you're like, why am I doing this? I don't know why. That's why. And the last one is disconnection. So cutting yourself off from those around you, being unable to ever really connect to anyone, hiding from life in an unhealthy, introverted way. I know I can relate to that one because I did that for a really, really long time. You know, cutting everybody off because that's the best way to survive in this really harsh world. It's not necessarily the answer, but it is a coping mechanism that your broken psyche is trying to protect you. It's just a natural way of protecting you. And these are all protection mechanisms, and if they're there, then they had good reason to be there. They're not there for nothing. Your subconscious has been working very, very hard to keep you safe, to keep you okay. The good news is that they can be healed and changed with gentleness and with compassion in a way that allows all the functions of the mind to become healthy, whole, complete, for you to have access to all of those. And it's simply by being willing to look, willing to see, no matter what happened in the past, you're safe here and now. You made it. You're okay. You survived. So it's all over now. You made it. You're okay. Everything's all right. So now is the time when it's safe to look. It might not have been safe at that time to look at what was going on around you, but now, in the perspective that you're in, and the fact that you've grown up a bit and you've had more life experience, now is a safe time for you to do that. Admitting your mistakes and your shadow self does not negate that in any way, shape or form, but what it does powerfully do as part of spiritual awakening is it makes you become fully present. It makes you a fully present, fully functioning human at optimum maturation, at least until the next time a purge comes along. And it makes you take responsibility for your actions. It allows you to be empathic without pain. It helps you to create boundaries and be lovingly assertive. It helps you to unconditionally accept others because you're willing to accept yourself no matter what. That's what unconditional love is. I accept myself no matter what. And it brings truth, and with that true self. And that's the thing where your real power lies, in your true self. So how do we acknowledge the shadow self? Because that's the toughest part of all of this. And the challenge with acknowledging your shadow self is that it's largely unconscious. So even for me, I've been doing healing all these years and I've been clearing and working at stuff, and the closer you get to the bottom of the barrel, the more that these things are so unconscious, you almost can't find them even if you look for them. That's much more frightening. How can you know what you don't know? How can you light darkness that you don't consciously realise is even there? Well, the good news is that awakening will bring it at some point. So the truth will always find its way to the surface when you're able to handle it. And you can investigate this for yourself. That's where you get to the stuff that is so hidden and so suppressed that you're not willing to look at it. And if those thoughts generate fear as we're talking about it, then there is a darkness within you that needs to be addressed. But let me reassure you that darkness is not because that you're bad. It's not because you're bad. It's because you are judging yourself to be bad. Okay? If you release the judgment, you'll release and heal the darkness. And you actually hold the key to healing your broken psyche. And when you do, all those parts that have broken and split off and hidden and been covered under denial and under veils and suppressed and blocked out, they all start to integrate and come together. But it's a really powerful thing, so don't be afraid of this. This is illumination. This is how you become your true divine self, your crystalline nature. That's how you become this. So the fear that comes as a result of even considering looking at your shadow self is not necessarily because of the fear of what's inside you, even though it might feel that way. It's because you've judged yourself to be a terrible human being as a result of it. The darkness is your own rejection of self, essentially. Once you can acknowledge that the darkness is there, that's the important thing. Everyone has darkness, no matter how light you think you are. Everybody has darkness. But as long as you can accept that the darkness is there, and you can accept yourself for it with loving compassion no matter what, then you'll be free of it once and for all. And that is enlightenment. It's literally lightening your spirit, because it's getting all that heavy weight, all those burdens, all that trauma. You'll never be freer and lighter and clearer than when you can let go of all that stuff, all those judgments and rejections of yourself. And that's how your true divine self shines in illumination and unconditional love. You need to be that unconditional love for yourself first, and only then can you actually extend that to other people, that compassion and that love. Are you actually ready to heal your broken psyche and repair the damage of the mind, to illuminate your shadow self and all these hidden aspects of self that you're being blocked from? If you're feeling triggered, or you would like some deep healing and comforting help with these issues, you can check out our new energy healing session. So it is slightly different from what we usually do each month. It's not a meditation as such. It's more focused on active energy healing rather than the awakening activations. So it's a similar setup. It's about 17 minutes long, but you hear me speak much more through it, and the guides, as we're tuning into them, are telling me exactly what they're bringing into our energies, the things that we need, the things that we need to release, and the teachings that we need to have. They're very clear about it, and it is jam-packed, really jam-packed. It's very, very powerful. I'm even going to repeat it a few times by myself, because the guides have really brought this in intensely. So it'll help you to illuminate and accept your shadow self, identify unconscious patterns, and see the divine truth safely and gently. That's the key. Seeing it when you're ready, when you can handle it in a safe and gentle way. And it's all focused on healing broken parts of the mind and psyche, and integrating all parts of yourself to become your most complete, whole and healthy self. Okay, so if you want to see if it's a fit for you, I will link to it in the comments below, and you can have a little look. Let's see. So Kim says, being in the dark, looking for the light with a third eye advice. What I would say, Kim, is if you feel you're in the dark, there's something there that needs to be illuminated. So you won't necessarily find your way out of that by looking for the light, but actually more likely you'll find your way out by turning towards the darkness and looking at the darkness, because when you look at it, you illuminate it. So try and have a look at what it is that you might be running from in your life. What things are there that you wish hadn't happened? What is it about this darkness that you're in that you can't really escape from? If there was something you were running from in it, what is it that makes it uncomfortable? And start to just have a look down that route and see what there is, because, you know, looking for the light to open your third eye or work on it doesn't always work as easily as that. It's more about look at what you're avoiding. That's what all this shadow self stuff is about. It's about, okay, I'm trying to get towards the light, but as a result of that, where am I casting darkness and shadows behind me? And what do they mean? Because when you look at them, you illuminate them. When you illuminate them, you make yourself light. Okay, so try to have a little look at what's going on and see if there's anything you can pick up on, and be kind to yourself as you're coming through all that. So I will leave it there. I'll put the link to the energy healing session in the comments. So in the meantime, dealing with shadow self stuff, everything will be alright. You just need to be willing to have a little look and just keep on moving through, and you'll get there. Thanks guys, bye.